Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
So just to start off, two fights into your PFL career, I just wanted to hear what it's been like behind the scenes, dealing with the promotional officials, things like that, compared to Bellator.
It's very different. It's very different. The first fight with PFL, there weren't like no familiar faces. Nobody had known. The last one there was a lot more Bellator, like former Bellator staff there, and that's like it's just different because Bellator feels a lot like a family. Like the moment you come there, like it's just like a weird. I don't know how they do it, but they have really good people involved, and it feels like family. So it was just a little bit of an adjustment dealing with the PFL and how they run things. But you know, that's that's good.
And what were your thoughts when you heard about the merger? Because I know there was a lot of Bellator fighters that were kind of concerned, like, where do I fall in this mix?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of concern because it's just there's so much unknown. It's like how are they gonna is it they just gonna do a season? Is that the only option for like every athlete? And that's not that many. There wasn't I guess a set thing because it's like there wasn't a female flyweight division and they weren't holding the season, the tournaments for that. So I'm like, how does that work? Are they still gonna, what does it all look like? So it's definitely a lot. And how some friends that were like, oh no, we're pushing you, we're talking so that we're gonna get you in like to the season. And I think they're gonna do the flyweight division, but it still was like really, really, I guess, nerve-wracking because it's just like, what will happen?
And obviously now it's all water under the bridge, but what do you think you would have done if they didn't put you into the tournament? Would you have tried to pursue another promotion or just try to see if they were willing to get you enough fights that you were looking for?
I mean, those are all things we talked about. Like the I think the biggest, I guess, thing that's kind of sad with the merger is that like there aren't that many. It takes away options for fighters. Like
Mhm.
you basically have the UFC PFL one. Like those are the only things, and one championship doesn't really like hold that many like promotion or shows throughout the year either. So it's a little bit. It was one of those things where I'm like, I guess like we'll just have to wait and see. Like I wasn't trying to like I was trying not to freak myself out too much and just see what will happen.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I think so many fans get caught up in, oh, I like this promotion, or I like that promotion, or this and that, and they don't realize that the more promotions, the better for the fighters because it just gives them so many options.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's like if not the UFC can't take on every athlete, that there's a ton of people out there that are looking to get into MMA, and it's not that easy to make money doing this, and you are putting a lot out there. I think that's something too where it's like you're risking a lot when you step into the cage, like your health, your just it's a lot more dangerous than a lot of other things I could have done. But yeah, having more promotions is definitely better for the fighters, and it creates a little bit more, you know, a, a little bit, I guess, more opportunity in the sense of it would be nice to be able to like bargain, like find yourself like in a better situation, as far as how you're getting paid and what's expected.
And so now to talk about this season, the last fight didn't go your way, but is it fair to say that in a very close fight against a high level opponent like that, you can learn so much about yourself?
Oh yeah, I definitely learned a lot, and I think that fight, it's weird. I've been saying this. It's like it felt like it almost didn't matter. Um,
Yeah.
and then but it's also like I feel it gave me a lot of confidence. Like I
Mhm.
thought I had done enough to win the fight, but also, you know, the way that things turned out, I'm not mad at the situation going forward. And I think that I proved a lot to myself, and there's a lot of things that I'm like, cool, like, yeah, I know what to do and I know where I stand.
I'm glad you used the word confidence because I kind of wanted to ask you about that because Dakota's the number one in the division on points, but I think a lot of people see Taila as the number one contender in a way. So how did it feel to just be able to go in there and, arguably beat her, such a fighter that's so well respected?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it really gave me confidence, because there wasn't anything that she was doing that I felt like, oh man, like I can't handle this, like she's overwhelming me, or this or that. There was nothing that I didn't think that I couldn't handle. And honestly, like um to me, she's somebody that, like, I have a ton of respect for her. I thought that she got robbed of a UFC title.
Mhm.
She's arguably one of, like, the best, or one of the best flyweights in the world. Like, she's been doing it for a long time. She has a ton of experience. A lot of really good like fight IQ, and that definitely helps. And so for me to go in there to make it a close fight, to feel like I won, even though I knew that it was close, it's just it I think it just helped me going forward to know that, like, yeah, like, you can do this no matter what. You got this.
And I have another question that's kind of water under the bridge. I don't really like to ask these questions, but I've never interviewed you, so I just want to know more your mindset. If you
Uh-huh.
had not made the playoffs, would you have seen this as a failure, or not? Because I know you're a complete martial artist, so the experience and staying active, it can be a positive.
Yeah, I mean, I would have, the thing that would have made me mad is that I wouldn't have had as many fights. I
Mhm.
wouldn't have been able to continue to fight. And because there's a lot, like, the season and the point system is very weird to me. I'm still, like, trying to adjust and understand that, and trying to understand how the matchups are made, so that it's, because it's like, well, clearly you're trying to set people, there's certain people that are certain ways that it can give advantages to certain fighters over the other, with the way that the matchups are done. And it's like, if we're going off points, if you have a fighter that's, and like, with a worse record, and you're coming in there, it's like, makes it easier for you to get more points to get that top seed. So I don't know, I just am like, I don't even know.
I've always thought that it would be nice if they could do some type of lottery system for the matchmaking, because we don't need to mention any specific names, but there does seem to be, let's say, other divisions, a fighter or two that gets an easier schedule, and we don't really get an explanation why.
Yeah, I think it was, for me, it would just be nice if there was some clarity, or some, like, transparency on, like, why things are done a certain way, or how they make the matchups, or what's the criteria. Like, there's no seeding inside of the season. And the season it's weird. I'm like, it's only 2 fights, and then that's all you get to, like, you could, like I said, you could win all of your fights and still not make it to the playoffs, as
Mhm.
potentially. So whether the way that they do the matchmaking, or maybe even if it was like luck of the draw, like, you could just only have tough fights in the season, go to decision every time, and maybe not even make the playoffs. So it's a little strange to me. But it would be nice if there was just some, like, transparency behind it.
So let's talk a little bit about your next fight with Dakota. What are your thoughts on her? What do you expect from her when you guys meet in the cage?
I mean, I expect her to, like, to bring her best. I know that she's a really great striker. But I also know that, like, I'm prepared for that. And, the ground game is where, I want to take it. So, I expect the best version of her out there.
And there's plenty of positive things that have been said about Dakota by analysts, fans, the commentators, whatever. But what do you think are some negatives that can be exploited?
I mean, I don't think that she's really been tested on the ground, for sure. That's something that we haven't seen, like, her grappling. It's like, she's got some great striking and stuff, but also, like, it's like, I don't mean this in a like a shady way or whatever, but she hasn't seen the toughest competition in her career either. So
Mhm.
that's something that I think, is, I hope it's not. I mean, I don't know. I think that that's something that, she could deal with now.
And I do think plenty of the hype is warranted. Like she is very talented, of course. And so
Yeah.
since you've already kind of been in there with Taila, do you see Dakota as the toughest fighter right now in the playoffs, if that question makes sense, because you're not really sure exactly what you're going to get from her?
I don't know. I don't know if I would say she's the toughest. She's she's got the, I guess for me it's the most unknowns, right? Because
Hmm.
I've trained with Liz. I know what Liz is about. I train with, I fought Tyler. I know what that's about. So it's like just the there's just more of a question mark with her than the other ones.
And so, last question for me: what would it mean for you to win the $1 million? Because it's not necessarily about financial situations. It's just there's not many opportunities in MMA for someone to win $1 million in a year if you're not a world champion.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. Like I'm excited. I would keep joking though. I was like, this makes me sound like a diva, but I'm like, $1 million doesn't really like go that far here in California. So like maybe I could put a down payment on a house, maybe. But but I'm also like $1 million is pretty sick too, better
Yeah.
payday than what, my normal contracts are right now.
And I was gonna say, being a complete martial artist that you are, I'm sure being the world champion, taking out the people along the way is probably almost, if not more satisfying than the money.
Oh yeah, I think that's something, I didn't get into. I didn't start MMA just to make money and to do it. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could reach the goal, like the highest level and prove that I am like one of the best because it's like a lot of people sit there and talk, and especially being in jujitsu for a long time, it's like every time I'm watching MMA fights and that, it's like, of course, I'm a little bit cocky and arrogant about like, oh, these people like they don't even know how to do an armbar properly, or they don't. It's like simple defenses, and it's so like something that I'm like I could exploit that, this and that, but then I'm like, okay, it's time to like try and back that up now because you can sit there and talk all you want. You can sit on your couch and not train at all and have those same opinions. But now I'm like getting to prove it.
And actually, I do have one more question. What do you think about one championship really uh what is it called, committing to submission grappling and trying to expand it by putting them on a bigger platform, including, of course, the females like Danielle Kelly.
I think it's really cool. Like I'm always happy to see, grappling getting its shine, because I think it is a really exciting, fun sport. I mean, I love it. It's amazing. And so to see people having opportunities in, on a bigger platform and a bigger stage is really, really cool. I think I hope that it continues to grow and they can continue to like really support that and push that aspect of it. And it's always kind of fun. I think it's fun to have a card where you have a lot of different types of fights happening on the same night that just, a little change of pace, like make things more exciting. And that's, yeah, it's awesome. I just, anything that keeps educate and it also educates the general like public on
Mhm.
grappling a little bit more. So maybe we'll see less booing and people can understand what's actually going on because it's like that's exhausting. Grappling is exhausting, and to like hold somebody down and control them is really, really hard. So to do certain things like that, I think hopefully people will understand that, the nuance of jujitsu, of grappling.
I mean, how many times do we see an MMA fight where you have this very sharp striker, they defend a takedown or two, and suddenly they're completely out of gas?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tiring on both sides of that exchange. If you don't get a takedown, you shoot for one and you don't get it, that's exhausting. And if you're getting taken down and you're fighting against that stuff, it's like you're gassed. And now it's like your arms are dead and it's like they start dropping a lot lower and it's harder to like throw with like speed and precision and stuff. So it's definitely, yeah, something that's like I wish people would respect it a little bit more because it's like it there's just there's so much intricacy in it.
Mhm. And that's all I have for you today. I really appreciate your time and I hope for all the best for you in the playoffs.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.